Hello students and namaste everyone. I am Dhaval sir and I welcome you all to the online session of Vidyadish Vidya Sankul School. And in our today's lecture, I am going to discuss with you all your Standard 8 Literature part, chapter number 1, that is the best Christmas present in the world by Michael Morpurgo. So the writer or the author of this chapter is Michael Morpurgo. Okay, so first of all, in this chapter, I am going to give you the introduction of this chapter. Okay, then I will discuss the summary of this chapter, and later on we will move towards the textual content of this chapter. So basically, in the introduction part, I can say that this chapter is a chapter which gives us the description about the Christmas story, right? So in this chapter there is a description about a Christmas story, okay, which takes place in the midst of World War. Okay, so Christmas story which takes place in the midst of the World War. So here we are talking about the World War I. Okay, and during that World War I, the two enemy countries were Britain and Germany. Okay, so during that time, the soldiers, okay, in this story, it is mentioned that the soldiers of both these countries, they were longing to go back to their home and meet their families or reunite with their families. On the opposite side, even the family members, they were longing. That means they had a strong desire to meet their family member, that is the soldier who is at the border. Okay, so basically in this chapter there is a description about a letter, okay, which was written by Jim McPherson, okay, who is the leader of the British Army. Okay, and in that letter he has described about all the events which are taking place between both the countries, okay, on the day of Christmas, which he mentions in the letter to his wife named Connie. Okay, so that is about the introduction of the chapter. So what is all written in the letter and how the story proceeds, that I'll explain you through a short summary, which begins with the writer, okay, the writer Michael Morpurgo. So what he is doing at the beginning of the chapter, okay, there is a description that the writer Michael Morpurgo, he wanted to purchase a roll-top desk. Okay, he wanted to purchase a roll-top desk. The picture I can show it to you. Okay, so this is a roll-top desk. Okay, so he wanted to purchase such a roll-top desk since long time. Okay, and one fine day at a junk shop, okay, he finds such a roll-top desk which was in an extreme bad condition, right? But then too, he was very confident enough that he will be able to restore it. Okay, that means he will be able to mend it and bring it to its original position. So he decides to purchase it. He purchases that roll-top desk, brings it home, okay, and then he starts doing the work of mending. That means he starts repairing the table, and when he is repairing the table, okay, from a secret drawer from that table, he is getting one letter, okay, and on that letter, the name of the person was written, right? So the letter was actually addressed to some woman named Connie. Okay, so he opens that letter and he tries to read out the letter. Okay, so on that letter it was written that the date was mentioned, which was 26th December 1914. So we all know that on 25th December it is a Christmas day, right? So this letter was written on the next day by Jim McPherson, who was the husband of Connie, okay, and who was also the soldier in the British Army. So that letter was written by Jim McPherson to his wife Connie, okay, which was dated on 26 December 1914, 1414, right, when the World War I had actually started. Okay, so In that letter, Jim McPherson is mentioning about the series of events which took place between the two countries' soldiers, right, at the border, at no man's land. Okay, so what he is mentioning is talking about the series of events in the letter. That means he's mentioning all the things in the letter about the events which took place between the two armies on the day of Christmas on 25th December 1914, and that thing which he says that it was the most wonderful thing what had happened. Okay, in his own words, in the letter he is writing that that was the most wonderful thing what had happened till date to him. Okay, so further in the letter he is writing that the two countries' soldiers, that is the German soldiers and the British soldiers, on that day they got together at the no man's land. Okay, they shared with each other schnapps. Schnapps is a kind of a drink which is usually drunk in Germany. So they shared with each other schnapps, sausages, rum. Okay, so sausages is a kind of a dish. Okay, rum is also kind of a drink. So they shared all these things with each other. They celebrated the Christmas day. Okay, and on that particular day, as both the countries were on opposite side to each other, both the countries were enemies to each other. But then too, they forgot all the differences between both the countries. Okay, and they enjoyed the day very well. Then further, after having schnapps and sausages and rum, both the countries played a game. That is the football match. Okay, so both the countries' soldiers they played football match on no man's land. Okay, and at that time there is a conversation taking place between the two officers of both the armies. That is the German soldiers officer and the British soldiers officer. As we know that the British soldiers officer was Jim McPherson. On the other hand, the German soldiers officer was Hans. So they both had a chit chat. That means they both had a conversation with each other, and they found out that there was a lot of things common between both the armies. Okay, and further they even agreed that the countries all around the world they should keep a match like football or cricket to decide who is the winner, right? So they shared their belief with each other. Why they say it like this? Because they believe that if there is a match, okay, or they believe that if through the match, if it could be decided that who is the winner, then there will be no destruction of life or property. Okay. Further, both the country's soldiers, after they completed all the food and drinks and everything, they knew that they had to return back to their own trenches. So they returned back to their own trenches, and on that night, the soldiers of both the countries they shared carols, right? The Christmas song which are sung in a group. So they shared carols with each other, okay? And on the next day, Jim McPherson, in his letter, is mentioning all these things, and even at the end, he writes to his wife Connie that on the very same day, that is on the 25th December next year, they will have a reunion. That means Jim McPherson is trying to say that after the war gets over, next year when there is a Christmas time, he will meet his wife Connie. So he is writing this thing in the letter, okay? And so actually what is happening? All these things are mentioned in the letter which the writer Michael Morpurgo is reading when he got the letter, okay? So on after reading the letter, he believes or he thinks that this letter should actually reach to the real person or the owner, or so therefore he decides to find out the lady who is mentioned in that, whose name was Connie. Okay, so the address was already mentioned on the letter. So he tries to find out that address, and when he reaches to that address, he finds that the house or the home was burnt totally. Okay, and on inquiring about the lady to the neighbors, they told that the lady who was at present 101 years old is living in the nursing home. Okay, so therefore the writer goes to the nursing home to meet the lady, and when he reaches the nursing home, he finds the lady over there. Okay, and when he meets the lady, he gives away the letter which was actually written by Jim McPherson, his husband, for her. So, what is happening when the writer, Michael Morpurgo, is handing over the letter, she is overwhelmed with happiness. Right? She becomes so happy when she finds the letter of her husband, and as she was very old aged, right, she misunderstood this visitor. The visitor was Michael Morpurgo. So she misunderstood this visitor to be her husband. Okay, so she thought that the person who is bringing the letter, that is Michael Morpurgo, is actually his husband, right? Because the day when he reached to Connie, who was 101 years old, right? The day when he reached over there was the Christmas day, right? So, as in the letter it was mentioned by Jim McPherson that on the Christmas day next year I will come to meet you. We will have a reunion. So, after many years, she is still believing that his husband is alive and he is in front of him, okay, to meet her, and this is how she misunderstands the visitor. And at the end, what happens? This day, as she believes that her husband has come back to meet her, she considers this day to be the best Christmas present in the world. Okay, and that is how the chapter gets over. So this was the summary of the chapter, and in all, in your textbook, this chapter is divided into 3 parts. In the first part, there is a description about the writer Michael Morpurgo, how he purchases the table, how he finds the letter in that in the secret drawer. Okay. Then in the second part, the story or the letter, the description of the letter is given. Okay. And in the third part, how writer or the author Michael Morpurgo tries to find out Connie and tries to hand over the letter to her is mentioned. Okay. So in this lecture, I will be discussing with you the only first part, that is how Michael Morpurgo purchases the table and finds the table through the textual content. Okay, and the remaining 2 parts we will discuss in the next lecture. So let us begin with the textual content. Okay, so the first paragraph goes like this: I here means the writer or the author, that is Michael Morpurgo. I spotted it in a junk shop. So spotted means what, right? Spotted means saw. So what he saw in a junk shop. Now again, junk shop means what, right? So a shop selling second-hand goods or inexpensive antiques. The antiques means rare and valuable things. Okay. So I spotted, that means he saw it in a junk shop. What he saw in a junk shop? In Bridport. Bridport is the name of the place. A roll-top desk. Okay. So the writer or the author Michael Morpurgo in a junk shop finds a roll-top desk. I have already shown you the picture of roll-top desk. This is a roll-top desk, right? So when you open this, it looks like this. So this is a roll-top desk. Okay. Fine. The man said, that is the writer, he is saying that it was. The man of the junk shop is saying that it was early 19th century and oak. Oak is a kind of a tree, and the furniture made from the oak tree is very expensive. Okay. I had wanted one. That means the writer Michael Morpurgo wanted one such table. Okay. But they were far too expensive. But the new table were very expensive. So he could not afford to purchase it, or he did not want to purchase such expensive table. This one was in a bad condition. The roll top in several pieces, one leg clumsily mended. That means the table which he finds at the junk shop, okay, was in a very bad condition, and he is describing the table that it was in several pieces. That means somewhere it was broken and the legs. The table is having 4 legs. So one of the leg was clumsily made. Clumsily means what? Badly or awkwardly made. That means the table was repaired but not in a good way. Okay. So clumsily mended. Mended means to repair. Okay. Scotch marks. Scotch marks means what? So scotch marks means burnt marks. Okay. The table was burnt somewhere, and due to that there were marks formed on it. Okay. Scotch marks all down one side. So this is the description of the table. Further, it was going for a very little money. Was going for. Okay. Was going for means was sold for. Okay. So it was going to be sold for very less amount, very little money. Okay. So therefore the writer, what he thought? I thought I could restore it. Restore it means to bring it back to its original position. Okay. Restore means to bring it back to its original position or condition. So the writer firmly believed that he could repair the table and bring it back to its original or in a good condition. It would be a risk, a challenge, but I had to have it, because from the very from a long time he was longing. That means he was desiring to have such a roll top table, and therefore he decided to have it anyhow or to purchase it anyhow. I paid the man and brought it back to my workroom. Okay, at the back of the garage. I began work on it on Christmas Eve. That means the writer, that is Michael Morpurgo, he brought the roll top desk at his home. Okay, and he started his work of repairing or mending on the Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve means the day before or the evening before the Christmas day. Okay, so before the Christmas day, he began his mending or repairing work. Okay, of the roll top desk. Moving further, I removed the roll top completely. So this is the roll top. Okay, which can be rolled like this, up and down. Okay, and when it is rolled up, it looks like this. So I removed the roll top completely and pulled out the drawers. You can see that so many drawers are there. Okay, so remove the drawers. The winner had lifted almost everything. Now what is the meaning of winner? Okay, a thin layer of plastic or decorative wood on furniture or cheap goods. So this is winner, which we can find out on the furniture. Okay, so it is a kind of a thin layer which is usually placed on the furniture. Okay, it looked like water damage to me. That means the damage which had taken place on the roll top desk was due to the water. We all know that if the furniture, wooden furniture is damaged by water, means if the water touches the wood furniture, okay, then it gets damaged. So the writer felt that it was damaged due to the water. Okay, moving further, both fire and water had clearly taken their toll on this desk. What is written over there? That is, both fire and water had clearly taken their toll on. So taken their toll on means damage. That means further the writer is saying that not only the water but even it was damaged because of the fire also. Okay. Moving further. The last drawer was stuck fast. Right? He had removed all the drawers, but when he was removing the last drawer, it was stuck fast. So stuck fast means shut tight. That means because of water, we know that in the monsoon season, usually the doors they get stuck. Okay, so it becomes very hard to open it. Okay, so it was stuck fast. I tried all I could to ease it out gently. Okay, so that means he's trying all the efforts to open it up, but he was not able to do it. In the end, I used brute force. So brute force means violently, right? Like this, brute force. Okay, I stuck it sharply with the side of my fist. I stuck it sharply with the one side of my fist, and the drawer flew open to reveal a shallow space. So when he stuck like this, the drawer easily opened up. Okay, he could find a shallow space. That means not too deep. okay, underneath a secret drawer. Okay, so there was a secret drawer, there was a shallow space in there. There was something in there. Okay, I reached in and took out a small black tin box. So when that secret drawer was opened, from that one sellotaped black box was visible. Okay, sellotape to the top of it was a piece of lined note paper. That means a note was stuck to it. Okay, and written on it with a shaky handwriting. Okay, shaky means like this, not clear. The writings were not clear. It was written with shaky hands. Okay, Jim's last letter received January 25th, 1915. Okay, so this were the writings of actually Connie, and she had written that Jim's last letter, and she had received, okay, by her moving further, to be buried with me when the time comes. So on that letter, okay, in the year 1915, when Jim might have not written, she wrote on it that it should be buried with me. Right? So one is trying to say that when I die away, this letter should be buried with me. Okay. I knew as I did it that it was wrong of me to open the box. That means when the writer Michael Morpurgo is reading the letter, right? We all know that we should not open anyone other's letter. So it is a kind of discipline which we should follow, right? So the writer believes that he knew that he had a mistake by opening someone else's letter, right? But curiosity got the better of me. But curiosity got the better of my scruples. That means what he is trying to say, feelings that make you hesitate to do something wrong. So he was so curious that he could not control himself, and therefore he opened the letter. The writer is saying that he knew very well that to open someone's letter is a wrong thing, but he had so much curiosity to open the letter and read it that he could not control himself, right? So it usually does, right? Usually such kind of thing happens to us also. Okay. Inside the box there was an envelope. Okay. The address is read. So what was written on the letter? The address was Mrs. Jim McPherson, 12 Copper Beaches, Bridport, Dorset. So this is the address what is written on the letter. I took out the letter and unfolded it. Okay, so the writer takes the letter from the drawer, okay, from the box. He opens it up. It was written in pencil and dated at the top December 26, 1915. So this is the date when the letter was actually written by Jim McPherson to his wife Connie. Okay. Next. So from here the second part starts, and as you can see here it is written dearest Connie. That means in the second part there will be a total description of the letter. Okay, what all things were written in the letter will be described in the second part. Okay, and then later on in the third part, how writer Michael Morpurgo goes to find the lady whose name was written on it, that is Connie. So he tries to find out Connie and hand over the letter to her. And how does he find the Connie? What are Connie's reactions and everything? We'll find out in the next lecture. So in the next lecture we'll discuss the second and the third part, which will be your remaining chapter. Okay. So right now we'll end our today's session over here. Okay. So I hope so the chapter was clear to all. My explanation was absolutely clear to you all. Okay. And I thank you everyone for listening to me. Bye everyone. Thank you.